The Lord. Praise the Lord. Say it like you mean it again. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I came this morning because I've gotten to the point when I go in juvenile detention, when I go in Manson Youth, and I see these young men, and the first thing that I notice is a lack of love. They don't have it. Just for some reason, maybe they're in a single family home, maybe they don't have the visibility. They don't have the visibility of a black male, and it troubles me. I think about my own evolution to New Haven. My father was one of the first black Tennessee State Troopers. My father was ambushed and shotgunned to death in 1966 by the Klan. So I came to New Haven. I lived in Newhartville when Newhartville was white. Everybody doesn't know that Newhartville was white. It was Jewish. When the zoning laws changed in 1969, they got up and they moved to Woodbridge en masse. Bought all the houses out there and left us. So we were able to buy houses in Newhartville. One of the first positive black males that I encountered was Bill Dyson. He was my teacher, he's my mentor. But with that having been said, we become a generation of talkers. We talk a good talk, but we don't do nothing. We talk all the things and all the accolades of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Guess what? They did it in their time. This is our time right now. And if we don't do it, gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, we're going to lose a whole lot of black. You might as well, like in the Holocaust, take a whole generation and put them in the pit and kill them. Because you got a whole lot of black males that are coming out. And I like to say, I'm a job developer at Connecticut Works. I'm an ex-offender job developer. For all these brothers out here to say that there are no jobs, you're not looking for a job. You're not. You're not going to make $15, $20, $30 an hour. If you get a job and you got some money coming in your house, you have become the breadwinner. It doesn't matter. Because if you're in your rightful place, you do what you're supposed to do. You take control of your house. You don't let your kids go out like something. I have a 4-year-old son home that is my seed, and I will die and go to hell before I see him fall prey to this violence that's in New Haven. He's going to live here, he's going to grow up here, and he's going to prosper here. He's going to listen to some of y'all. Some of you out here, you're the next leaders of a generation, of a millennium. And you have to understand, this seed has to be planted. We can't talk anymore. And I don't even want to be involved with organizations that just talk and don't do nothing. We have to go out here. We have to take back the streets. We have to go on the corners, go talk to the brothers, because that's where they're at. They're not in churches anymore.
Come on.
In 1965, 65% of teenagers went to church. Today, in 2007, 5% of teenagers go to church. So you're not going to find them in the church. You got to go to the streets. You got to go find them in the streets. And they're there, and they're waiting, and they need love. And I'm tired of us saying, you know what? I walked down the street, and I had a young man walk by me smoking a blunt. I said, I know you're not walking down the street. I got my son. You're not going to, and he put it away. And he said, sorry, minister. I never told me that I was a minister. But you know, I'm reminded every single day when I go out here who I am. Every single day I go out here, I'm reminded. Have I made mistakes in my life? Yes. Am I an angel? No. But I'm in the process right now of reclaiming, I like to say New Haven. I'm in the process solely. When I go in juvenile detention, I like to lay a seed. I'm not coming out of here without at least 2 or 3 kids or some kids giving their life to God. At least, you know, I planted the seed. When I go to Manson Youth, when I see these kids, I wish I could take all of y'all. I wish I could schedule a trip and plan, and all of us go to Manson Youth en masse, and see these kids that are dying for love. I wish I listened to you when I was in juvenile detention. They graduated from juvenile detention to Manson Youth, and they warehouse them there till they're 21. Then they start their sentence. How pray tell you tell a 15-year-old kid that you got 40 years? That's a death sentence. It is. It's a death sentence. And in closing, I want to say this. We have to understand the prison industrial complex. Connecticut has a $2.8 billion budget.
That's right.
We are second in the nation of incarcerated males, females, and juveniles. Second in the nation. We have the dubious honor of having those statistics. What are we doing about it? What are we doing? Where's the impact? I can remember when I walked down the street that a man from my neighborhood asked me where I was going. What you doing? Where you live at? Who's your mother? We don't ask those questions anymore. We let kids walk around 10, 12 o'clock at night. What you doing out here? We have to ask those questions. We have to reclaim our streets. Can't depend on the police. Can't depend on, we got to depend on God and ourselves. We put this plan together, we do the things we need to do, we can reclaim New Haven. But if we play games, we're going to lose a generation, gentlemen. Thank you for listening.
Today, this is the day the Lord has made for we to be glad to be in it. I'm Clinton Robinson. I'm a native from North Carolina. I came here back in 1963, my first trip here in New Haven. New Haven was a booming, thriving place at that time. Jobs everywhere, people getting along, wholesomeness of family. As you know, we are in trouble. Our young people are in a disarray. Our adults are in a disarray. And the reason why I say that is because we're not parenting like we're supposed to. Let's be real. I don't know if I can give me the liberty to say, we just don't want black visible men. We want positive black visible men. It's very important. Youngsters see and hear, and they model their whole being after what they see. Start with the 4 stages of child development, infancy. You take a little small baby, 0 to 2 years, 2.5 years old. He's going to be cuddled. He's not responsible for himself. Parents have to shape that baby, imprint that baby, to help him to grow and nurture him to become a productive citizen. And as he goes to toddlers, 2 years old, he mimics and imprint what daddy sees and what daddy does. We want that to be positive. When you become a puberty, that's when you really need a black positive male. His teenage years, he needs to be hugged, he needs to be told, and he copies what mom and dad say. If you see mom and dad hugging and kissing and not being cursed out, guess what? What is he learning? How to shape his behavior as he grows older. So we want to be positive in our nurturing our young people. It's so important. I go into a lot of homes where there have been shootings and trauma arises. There is no men around. Mostly they're all female. And the kids are crying and because daddy beat up mama, domestic violence, or there's been a shooting, and everything is negative, negative, negative. Guess what? That young person grows up and copies what he have inherited from his parents, from his environment. So we as positive, Brother Morris, we want positive, visible males, not just anybody. We always visible. We out there everywhere and anywhere. Doing what? Are we doing positive things? I don't think so. In our home, it starts in our home. Men, it starts in our home. Model that being. My father was an advocate of going to church on Sunday, doing the right thing, working hard, not a lot of drinking, that kind of thing. And I try to impart that to my son, okay? And try to make the right decision, doing the right thing, going to school, being the best you can be. Being a positive, visible male is very important. So that cascade to what kids see, to what kids hear, and then they want to emulate what that's all about. I think it's Langston Hughes said a quote, a great orator some time ago, let your buckets down where you are. Males, let your buckets down where you are. That means if your kids is going to school, check his homework, check her homework. Something as simple as what time they're supposed to be in the house, make sure they're there. Then positive, encourage them. If you encourage a child, he or she wants to learn. You can't just, if you have a hammer and a nail, can you build a house? You may be good, you may could, but it's going to be upside down, whatever. It takes a well-rounded, multifaceted task in trying to rear kids. So men, step up to the plate. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure it's positive. Make a contribution, doing something very positive. I cannot stress, so education is the key. When I was growing up in the South, mostly education was the key. It doesn't mean everybody go to college. Skills positions, a lot of positions that we could obtain. But the bottom line is, as black positive men in 2007, we're going to find ourselves doing those things that are positive, and our kids will represent that in the future. Of course, they may fall down occasionally, but if you're there to help them, to pick them up when they fall down, dust them off a little bit and point them on their way, they'll be fine. So I'd like to leave with you just this thought. If we take our kids at home and represent a positive image to them, they in turn will learn that pass it on to their kids, pass it on to your friends in the street, and that kind of thing. Of course, we know there's a lot of parents, a lot of males are at home. So what we're going to do as positive males, what we're doing right now, come and dialogue about it, find some action steps that we can take to help kids in the school system, in our community. Of course, they're out there. So we got to do something, gentlemen. And I'd like to leave you with this. If I can, I will. If I could, I wouldn't, but I will. Thank you.
To all the brothers on the panel and brothers here, first, good morning. Habar Ghani, assalamu alaikum. And to the brothers under 25, what up? I took that line from the pastor Emmanuel. It is an honor for me to be here and to be on this panel. And I think all of us, as Donald mentioned earlier, and I do want to commend Donald for his effort and his courage and putting us together and keeping us together. Let's give him another hand for that. Like all of us here, I stand on some strong shoulders. All of us here, I stand on some strong shoulders. I was born in Oklahoma, believe it or not, but really in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, my daddy's home. And I was very fortunate and blessed to have had some very strong, positive black men in my life. I was fortunate and blessed to have and to know and to love both of my grandpas, my mama's daddy and my daddy's daddy, and to have a good father in my own life. So I'm very grateful for that, and fortunate and blessed, and I know that a large part of who I am and what I am and what I ever be is in large part due to the fact that they were in my life and guided me and strengthened me and directed me when I needed to be directed. And I also appreciate, of course, the strong women who were in my life as well. But I say that because I was fortunate enough to go my family moved here in 1967, and I went to high school and college and on to law school. And again, very fortunate and blessed to have those opportunities. But as I moved up and along and through these various journeys and opportunities, I also recognized very clearly that I had cousins and homeboys and friends and other family members, you know, who were subjected to racist violence. I had friends, relatives who were shot down by police and killed. I had friends who were shot down, victims of black-on-black violence. I got homeboys and friends who succumbed to the drug, to the lure of alcohol and heroin and coke. I got homeboys and cousins and sitting in jails right now, been there most of their lives. So I know that, having said all that, but for the grace of God go I. But for the grace of God go I. So I think we have to recognize and appreciate those of us that are here, because we all have stories like that to tell. We know somebody in our family, in our neighborhood we grew up with, that's sitting that's in the grave right now, or sitting in a jail right now, or sitting in the corner somewhere with something in their nose or in their arm, and we know that but for the grace of God go we. So I think, having said that, we have to, as the brother said down the way earlier, as the brother said, we have to appreciate the history. And I think it's important, since it is the last Saturday in African American History Month, that and I'm the last speaker on this, I think it's important to recognize and appreciate the shoulders on which we stand. Right. And that we have to honor those folk who've gone before us. Brothers mentioned, you know, Langston Hughes and Booker T and Malcolm and Martin and so many others, and Senator Frederick Douglass and Nat Turner. I mean, we have to appreciate the fact that, given no matter how difficult this struggle is for us right now, it is tough. And we've never been down this road before. Now, we've been down some roads. Yes. Maybe some similar roads, some comparable roads. Yeah. We've been through this struggle and that struggle, but we've never been down this road before. Yes. But having said that, we also know that we got to appreciate the fact, as the brother pointed out at the beginning, the brothers like Nat Turner and all those other nameless faces, brothers, our ancestors, who were subjected to the whip, who had to go out in that field every day and then pick that cotton or that tobacco or cut that cane in Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Don't we stand on their shoulders today? Right. You know, and they didn't cut that cane and pick that tobacco and chop that cotton for us to be lamenting over what sad state of affairs we in there.
And in Connecticut also.
Woe is me. God help us. Yeah, God help us, but God help us to help ourselves. So we got to take from their strength. And also we got to recognize a couple of things. We have a tendency sometimes, no matter what generation we're from, Donald mentioned the civil rights era, that we have a tendency to romanticize Malcolm's life and Martin's life, and we gotta appreciate the lonely battles those brothers fought. The many times they sit in rooms by themselves with their heads in their hands, wondering would they get the support they needed. At the height of the civil rights movement, brothers, at the height of the civil rights movement, less than 15% of our people were involved. In spite of what we see on television, those news clips, we think everybody was involved. Everybody was out there marching, everybody was demonstrating, everybody and getting arrested. That wasn't the case at all. Less than 15% of all our people were actively involved in that movement. But yet, look what we achieved. Look what we got out of that. And look how we benefited from that small group of folk actively involved in the struggle. And if we deal with Malcolm and Du Bois and Booker T and all those great folk, we got to remember historically. And I teach, so I got to, y'all got to indulge me on this. But it's important to know, especially in Black History Month, that as of all the great people that we've named, it was Marcus Messiah Garvey who had the strongest, largest black movement in the history of this country to this very day. In spite of all the great things Malcolm did and Martin did, and everybody else we can name, black men and women, it was Marcus Garvey who galvanized us in the 1920s and 30s, had the largest mass movement of our people, because he talked about pride, self-help, do for self. And it was on the basis of that foundation that Elijah and Malcolm and others made to build the Nation of Islam. We got to appreciate that history in which we stand in terms of being visible. And then Marcus Garvey certainly prided himself on being visible. He wanted to make sure that the brothers and sisters involved in the movement were visible and active. And so we have to be very clear on this as I wrap this up. Someone teacher told me years ago, half the battle in life is just showing up. Half the battle is just showing up. So you show up today, and just your mere presence alone, as Donald said at the outset, is power and sends a message. So when we show up, whether it's on the doorstep of a school, or the doorstep of a church, or a mosque, or just standing on the street corner, just showing up, just our mere presence, even if we don't say a word, it sends a message of power and of strength. And we have to recognize that in many ways. And finally, I think we have to recognize and appreciate those of us that are here. I mean, we're gonna look around the room and say and lament the fact that, who's not here? Well, so-and-so ain't here, this politician's not here, or this minister's not here, or this elected official's not here, or this person that we know who talks a good game is not here. Well, that's fine. But let's take pride in those of us who are.
That's right.
And because everybody has a role to play. All of us have a role to play in this struggle, which is why I commend Donald again for dividing up, having these different committees and subcommittees that are about the business of doing some things. So all of us have a role to play, and all of us can make a difference in our community. But I encourage us to take this mantle on, to take on the responsibility and the challenge of being visible, making ourselves visible in any which way, in any and every way we possibly can. Let's take heart and heed to the words of those on whose shoulders we stand. I particularly think of the words of Benjamin Mays, the first African-American president, Morehouse College, who said, those of us who start out behind in the race must always run faster or forever remain behind. Listen, say that again. Those of us who start out behind, like we are, in the race, must run faster, ever run faster, or forever remain behind. Let's keep that in mind, brothers. And finally, the challenge that I take with me every single day, that brother Frederick Douglass said to us years ago, if there is no struggle, there will be no progress. We may not get all we pay for in this world, but we must certainly pay for what we get. For power, brothers, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. If there is no struggle, brothers, there will be no progress. God bless you all, and I thank you. Stay busy, brothers. Stay busy.